All clickbait aside, this next weekly close will be perhaps one of the most important for the next couple months to come.
Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave, where the clickbait is intensifying, having a little bit of fun over here on a Sunday morning from actually a sunny Helsinki, Finland. Although the temperature is getting absolutely crushed in the last few days. We're back below zero once again, but you know what? I actually don't mind all that much. But I did want to record an extra early video today because I want to show some trades. I want to talk about some price action, and I just couldn't help myself. So today's probably gonna be a little bit of a longer video. I wanted to give myself a little bit more time. With all of that said, let's start it off right on over here with the good old Krown trading app, which can be found at app.crowntrading.net, which is free, so go take advantage of it. Anyways, open interest coming all the way down, even just a little bit more from yesterday, getting closer and closer to that 500 million even number that we've been looking for. And this is indicative to me that we probably are on a short-term turning point. Doesn't mean that it's going to be a long-term macro reversal or turning point in that sense. Just saying that we're probably going to spend a little bit of time consolidating this area. The question then becomes, what is going to be this area? So that's what we're going to use technical analysis for. But with open interest being this low, you can imagine that pretty much most people are out of their positions by this point, and then we get to play the fun game of everyone put back on your positions before the musical chairs fall out, and we get to fuck you at the end of the game. Anyways, with regards to that, I should also say before I forget, all of the programs that we offer here, the technical analysis program, the options program, and then the newbie neophytes program is what I refer to it as Elsa screams in the bathroom, are all on sale for 20% off. No code is needed, and they can all be found in the links below. I want to 100% make sure that they are applicable to you, so definitely watch the accompanied videos for them, as they'll kind of go more in depth with explaining them than I will do right now, because, well, this video is probably gonna be long enough anyways. But keep in mind that the TA program and then the options program are going to be about 40 hours long. In some, I think the TA program might even be a little bit longer than that right now. So if you are going to get into something like that, if you actually are the type of person who it's applicable for, my main concern always is, do you actually have the time to take the value out of that program? Because not only is it 40 hours long, but you're probably going to want to, revisit it a few times over the years. At least that's how it is. That is how it's designed. Elsa's like screeching in the background. It's kind of crazy. Anyways, the options program is about the same length, but options themselves have a much greater learning curve. So that, if you're not sure what it is, probably not applicable to you. And then, of course, the brand new Neophytes program, which is completely aimed at beginners, like meaning that you have no idea how to even navigate an exchange. If you have been on this channel for more than a couple months, you probably are above that level of that program. But I do want to, again, point you towards the informational video accompanying it, which are all in the links down below on the website. Okay, so enough of that. Let's talk about some good old price action running over here. Before we get into it, I feel like I'm missing something really, really massive right now. You know what? Let's just get on. Let's just get on with it. So today is a very, 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 very important day. Because we're going to be closing the weekly, and this next weekly close is very likely to dictate the next couple months worth of price action. And as you can see right here, we are resting pretty much right around the white 200 simple moving average and the 200 exponential moving average looming a little bit overhead. Now, here's the thing: there are essentially three different scenarios that can happen at the end of the day. Scenario number one, the most bearish scenario, we end below all of these major moving averages, both the 200 exponential moving average and the 200 simple. And at that point, I would essentially be looking for, at the very least, a test down to 4850, probably a lot lower than that to 4200, and then likely more downside over the next coming, over the next coming weeks. The next scenario that we could have, scenario number two, is we close above the 200 simple, which is at currently at 5,500. It's probably not going to really change any, but below the 200 exponential moving average, which is about $300 higher at 5,900. If that were to happen, it doesn't really give us all that much resolution, but it would likely imply that we will have another test back below 5,000, which we'll get into in the lower time frames in just a bit here. But I want to kind of overlay the whole picture first, and but there will still be a chance that we actually do salvage things coming into next week. And then option number three, door number three, if Bitcoin can do it, is getting back above the 200 exponential moving average right here, and the 200 simple, by that nature, which again is about a little bit below 5,900. It looks like. If that were to happen, I actually would still be looking for a retest back down to the lower 5,000s, but I do think that that retest would likely be at the very least a bounce buy for some action, for a couple weeks of consolidation, essentially between the 5,500 level and the mid 6,000 level, so $1,000 range right around there. So I do think that we're going to be tightening this up. I mean, we'll have resolution obviously by 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, or actually it might be 8 now because the U.S. changed their clocks. So actually, I think it is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time now. For those of you in the European zone, I don't believe that we've changed our clocks just yet. So, wait, when did we change our times? Oh, you can't speak. Sorry, irrelevant. Don't even talk to her. So, anyways, I do have a few trades running right now. I want to follow up from yesterday as well, and I also want to talk about this streamer account. So I started another streamer account with just one Bitcoin 2 days ago at the most opportune time, and I want to first at the outset say yes, there's a reason why I started at this time, because I don't want to trade a couple $100 ranges starting off with a pretty low account. So I did pick it, obviously a very nice time to be starting this one around when there was just a massive amount of opportunity. But basically I started it a few days ago, right literally here. Right around 4,600-ish region, which I do believe is where I got my first few buys in. So that doubled the account. Sorry, I started with one Bitcoin. I wanted to, what's it called? What's the word that I'm looking for? Simulate, what it would be like to start off with just one Bitcoin again, because I think that that's relatable to a lot of people out there. A lot of people have been requesting this. Of course, I did my my 0.05 Bitcoin starter account a couple years ago, and it's actually like the 2-year anniversary right now, so it's like a perfect time to start it again. And then I did pick this time to do it because, well, with a little bit of careful planning and whatnot, on a major area like this, well, things can move a little bit faster, and I would like to get the ball rolling sooner rather than later. It would be boring as fuck to watch this account, basically to stay flat or flat-ish for like, a few weeks and then maybe get a move. But right now, I started it right at the tail end of that last major move. So I've actually almost tripled the account from 1 Bitcoin to 3 Bitcoin now, and this is with careful use of both spot, futures, and options. So what I'm doing right here is I've had multiple positions on these futures contracts. A couple of them I've been scalping mostly on the Junes and then holding the perps right here. And then I've been playing options against them, and I've found some significant amounts of value in using these daily expirations for derivative options. These are amazing. Anyways, this is like going crazy right now. Are you okay? Okay, no, it's all good. Let me know if you need help. Anyways, looking at this right here, I do have, going back right on over here, I do have long about 16 Bitcoin or 15 and a half Bitcoin, and I've covered that pretty much fully, except for like 0.8 of that Bitcoin by shorting all of these in the money contracts. I've shorted 10 on the ones that are expiring in literally 1 hour and 5 minutes. They've been giving us a lot of good premium on these for the last couple of days. I sold these guys for, I think, about $600, and I sold these guys for about $75. In fact, this is really nice right here. Anyways, P&L starting to creep its way up. And then also I did the last third on tomorrow's expiration. The reason why I did that, speaking specifically to the people in the options program now to follow up, is because they're giving you more premium on that. And because it is a weekend, it's usually going to be a game of decay anyways. And coming off of last week, which was just a massively volatile week, Vega's going to get fucking crushed over the weekend when the range has been more or less, I wouldn't say steady. This is a pretty massive range, but as as far as like the last couple of weeks of price action is concerned, this range right here is a lot more stable than what we've been doing, for the last couple of weeks. So that volatility is getting absolutely crushed right now. So selling premium after a move like that to cover my spot long positions, I would like, that's the way that I like to trade. Anyways, once these ones from this morning, March the 15th expire, I'll just roll these on over into tomorrow's expiration. I'll do another one right here, and then I'll do another one on expiring on Monday the 7th, not Monday the 17th, but Tuesday the 17th. Anyways, that reminds me, I actually have surgery on the 18th. So I will be on. I'm doing the surgery after my video. Of course, man. Can't skip the daily rituals. This is my fucking life now. You know, this is basically the 2-year anniversary of this place, and like, people should not be thanking me. I should be thanking people. This has given like massive value to my life in the sense that I feel like I actually have something to fucking look forward to when I wake up again, which sounds kind of silly and maybe sounds a little bit self-aggrandizing, but I truly do feel that way. You know, creating this channel has just been the best thing that I've ever done ever. I've had so much fucking fun with this. Anyways, okay, so now going down to the lower term timeframes, let's kind of shore up exactly where these ranges are, because I would like to start to think about my next positions coming into tomorrow, as I do need to roll these positions. So we did get the test down to 5150 that we spoke about yesterday. In fact, right on this trend line right here, a little bit lower, but essentially right on, you know, right to the dot. We did not officially break it at 5150. We only closed right there, which is completely fine. Actually, even closed a little bit. Few bucks above on Stamp, it looks like. And I do believe that Bitcoin is essentially just creating a range on the very, 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 very low time frames between essentially, well, where we just bottomed out right now at 5150 and this trend line right here at about 5700-ish region. However, to follow up on yesterday's idea as well, we do still have this in play. We still have some sort of a symmetrical triangle going off, in the cards here, and it would be suggesting that we're going to get resolution very, very soon, actually. Anytime actually within the next few hours is quite likely here. So resolution will be had if we can either close an hourly dildo above this area right here at about 5450, 5500 we'll call it, and then I look for at the very least an extension to here at about 5700, another $200 move. And realistically, there is a measure move on this which would actually be pointed directly towards the blue box territory right here at around 6150. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I would be a little bit skeptical if that move did reach the final target of that. By the same token, can still break to the downside as well. And then we'll talk about probabilities for a second. And that would target our 4450-ish range down around here, which is actually not going to even be showing. I mean, I'm basically getting that horizontal from the 30-minute. This is like really cutting things close. So I don't really like using this low of time frames, but because we did have a pretty outlier-ish of a week this past week. Past couple of weeks, actually, I would be. It's one of those times where you can actually do that. I do think it will get respected. Anyways, so the blue boxes of peace and prosperity here are essentially just kind of outlining, this one right here just kind of outlining our bottom side support. This one over here actually outlining our top side target coming in from our breakdown of 12th of March as well. So, I'd rather be, I'd rather be just patient within this region. If Bitcoin does break to the downside, I will cover with options. If Bitcoin breaks the upside, I will I'll just cover again, once we get back around 5,700. And then if things do work their way to 6,000, perhaps I saw a little bit of premium there as well. But all of the short-term action today is irrelevant in the face of where the weekly close is. So I do not want to get lost in the minutia here. I do want to talk about the short-term timeframes because there actually is some opportunity to go on here. But until the weekly closes, I would not be taking any like long-term positions or getting too cute with this. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I am happy to share exactly what I'm thinking in that sort of same situations. And looking at our low time frame oscillators, we are going to see actually a lot of things do want to pop back up here. I think we just got a new hourly. Nice. So that means it's 1 hour until expiration. So we'll have to manage this position for much longer. And we do have something like this going on right now in the Stokes, which seems to be, if you want to call this a falling channel, if you want to call this a falling wedge, you can call it whatever the fuck you want to call it. Typically does break to the upside, although I don't really trust things all that much on Stokes as far as formations goes. I do trust supporting resistance on Stokes, but more so RSI is the better one for that. So let's go see if there's anything on our low time frame RSIs. But I do think that just the hourly Stokes turning up is interesting nonetheless, as it does tend to get things more or less right over the weekends. Looking at hourly RSI, it does look pretty weak here, to be fair. I'm not a big fan of it, but probably, regardless of that fact, I do think that it's setting up for at the very least another test of the top side of resistance about 150 bucks higher, a little bit more than 150 bucks higher at 5450-ish region. But let's see how the other lower time frame oscillators are doing right now. 2 hour are, hey, no, stop. There we go. 2 hour are coming all the way down after price action just essentially ranging within this triangle here. And 2 hour RSI is okay, but still still more on the bearish side, I'd say. But regardless of that, I do think that it's lining up for a test of the 21, and what do you know, it lines perfectly with the top side of this resistance. Again, this is all low time frame type bullshit right here, so don't want to get too stuck on this, but it is interesting. Looking at the 3 hour, same sort of thing. 3 hour RSI is, this is not the picture of health and fitness in any way, shape, or form, but I do think that it's probably going to give us a test to the top side, another 200 to 150 to 200 bucks on the short term, and 4 hour stocks actually still headed up right here, so I do like that. And they're actually going to be getting out of, or they're going to be testing the bullish control zone relatively soon as well. And if you're looking at this as a nice little doji dildo right here, well, a little bit of indecision. We take out the high of it. Do we get continuation? I mean, now we're really getting crazy with these low time frame bullshits, but technically, yes, I would be more on the side of that. And Bitcoin realistically rallying back up to like 54.50 to test the top side of our symmetrical triangle here is not going to really, rattle any feathers or anything like that. We could still test the top side of this resistance, reject from it, and then break to the downside. I need to see closures. I need to see closures above these critical levels, which, to the upside, I think it would be more appropriate to be just a smidgen more conservative here and say that the breakout will not happen above 54.50. I'd really need to see like an hourly close above 5,500 is where that becomes, what is this? 55.50 is where things start to look a little bit more likely. And then like the obvious one is going to be 5,700, and that will very likely initiate this move towards very low 6,000 to 6,100ish region right here. So that's the way that I'd be looking at it right now. But remember, with significant importance placed on the weekly close. Anyways, go check out the 12-hour. 12-hour does not look good at all. 12-hour looks like we're going to test 54.50, but it also does not look like it does not look like it's going to be the picture of fucking strength in that region. We do see 12-hour stokes up, so fair enough. That's fucking cheat code, and we actually did bounce off the same trend line that has been coming in since, how long ago is this? February 27th of this year. So that was over here getting this one, getting this bounce, and then more recently getting this bounce. So it actually hasn't had all that good of reactions. More importantly, when we look at the 12-hour, we do actually have a 12-hour death cross confirmed, albeit the price action is very far away. Whoops, let me put the 200 exponential moving average back on there. Albeit price action is very far away from the cross, but this was a pretty damn good cross, at the time of it happening. So I would say that we're probably going to test one of the lower period moving averages, maybe the 10 simple most likely at some point, which is currently coming in where around 6,100, and that's exactly where the blue box is right here. So it is still very much within the cards, and I do think that is possible actually. Looking at the daily does not look good here either. I mean, yes, daily stocks can be turning up, but I don't really care about that. We don't even have daily bullish RSI. Daily bullish divergence in the RSI. I'm searching for my words once again. Sorry about that. I know it's fucking annoying. It annoys me too. But we do have daily double death cross as well. Now this one is too far away from the price action for me to really, like look at it as like an actionable trade. It's likely that we're going to test the 10 simple, in the couple weeks to come. But as you can see, this one's coming down very aggressively with each and every passing day. It's coming down. Yesterday to today was $300. I mean, that's pretty massive. And then the day before that, that was another $350. And the day before that, that was okay. So you get the point. It's quite a bit. The death cross does put pressure to the downside, of course, and it will switch a lot of the bots and algos from a buy program to a sell program. But because it's this far away, it's not really actionable right now. And that leads me to believe that we're probably going to play out a range between where we are right now and the low 6,000s. That's my personal opinion. I wouldn't mind another move below 5,000. I think 44.50 to 42.50 would be a nice area to wash a lot of people out. But I think it would hold on the next pass most likely. But again, that will really only be my main consideration if the weekly close, it has to close at least above the 200 simple for that to be like a decent consideration. For right now, things are still very, 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 very early. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to look at the expected moves chart early on in the day. With all those levels in mind, I'll put them back on once again. Or actually, do we want to use this chart? Do I have this? We can do a whole new chart right here because this one's not even that important. All right, cool. Let me just do a whole new one. I want to get in the blue boxes of peace and prosperity where the price action actually matters. So we have an obvious one right here. for the upside. We have an obvious one down here for the downside. We're actually kind of testing it right now. That would be applicable to the lower term timeframes on that symmetrical triangle. If that does break to the upside, I'd be looking for a move up here essentially at anywhere between 60.50 and 61.50-ish region. Above 61.50 though, my opinion for the medium term will change to slightly bullish for an extension to actually the upper 6,000s, maybe like 6,900-ish region would look good to me. And by the same token, if we do break to the downside, I do think we're going to be gearing up for another test back down around here at the very least, which is 4,700 to 48.50-ish region, so $150 region. And then I need to go down to a lower term time frame for this one. And I think we're going to find it right here, the 42. Yeah, it should be between 42 and 41.50, and that'd be the next level to the downside there. And below this level is continuation on the macro once again. So that's when we get to talk about $3,000, $3,000 fucking dollars, maybe even more than that. But take one thing at a time. Anyways, okay. So now that we have all these ranges in mind. Remember, these ones the most preliminary ranges for the very, very low time frames. This one medium time frame bias changer. This one also medium time frame bias changer. This one continuation macro. And what would make me macro bullish again? I suppose that's worth talking about. What would make me well, not a lot. Not a lot, actually. Not a lot would do that anytime soon, unfortunately. I mean, Bitcoin isn't really even doing anything like significantly different until it gets back above $7,000 region this last breakdown. So that's pretty far away. So I don't think we'll have to talk about those probabilities anytime soon. Anyways, let's go check them out. Oh, by the way, we have a new probability chart straight from the labs of Bali. He's this mad fucking scientist, absolute genius. We can now actually forecast probabilities in the future, as shown by these probability cones right here. Good luck copying that, my friends. Anyways, looking at this right here, it would suggest that actually the probabilities are on the downside. The reason why that is, well, first things first, we see all of these guys squeezing to the downside here. After showing a little bit of interest to the upside a couple of days ago, but it's ticking time bomb in the way that I look at it, really. And the fact that we were unable to get continuation over the last couple of days is not good, at least for the short and medium term. Anyways, keep in mind though, oh man, I want to recolor these. They're so bland. They're so boring. We need some life. Anyways, we see the bottom side of the first deviation coming in around 48.50. So I do feel very confident with that call. If we do break our current level, right below here, even if we just trade below our current low at 50.50 or close an hourly dildo below 51.50, I do think that's going to be that's going to be your next indication that we're going to go about $300 lower. Again, very tradable here because these are getting close to like 3 to 5% moves. I mean, relatively fast too. I mean, it's truly amazing actually the amount of opportunity right now. But keep in mind the actionable point for that is about 51.50, $100 lower than where we're trading right now. You can see that that's well within the bounds of where we are currently and the bottom side of our first deviation. So if we had to make a probability of it, what's a likelihood that we close below there in the next 12 hours? Well, I think if doing a little bit of bad mental math, like maybe 30-ish%, maybe a little bit below 30-ish%. In fact, I think that we actually can do this. Probably Bali told me, but I haven't had time to read it just yet. Fuck. Yeah, it's not on here. It looks like I'd unfortunately have to figure that one out later. But the probabilities technically are on the downside right now. By the same token, to the upside, you can see, then this is only a 12-hour. You can see the first deviation to the upside showing resistance right around 5,500-ish region, which would essentially be in this block right here, if you want to be a little more conservative with this. Now, I do think you could be a little more aggressive, but for the sake of being consistent here, I'm going to move this one down. And we can do it in a little bit more aggressive posturing, but even then it would be less than 16% chance that we actually do close above there in the next 12 hours. So the probabilities are on the downside, and that would include a test of 48.50-ish region, and probably also a bounce at 48.50-ish region, at least on the first pass. And then we'll have to come back and probably reassess from there. I think it'd be doing too much to try to kind of forecast a little bit too much from where we are right now. Looking at the daily, I'm curious what the probabilities are for the next day's worth of action. And it's actually significantly on the downside here. We do see that the top side of the first deviation is basically coming in right around yesterday's high, right around 5,600-ish region. So less than a 16% chance that we close above there. And that's only $100 higher than where our more aggressive breakout point would be. And more accurately speaking, it would be around 5,600 if we want to be a little more conservative. So daily showing that that's a little bit less likely today. And what's more likely is, well, the bottom side of the first deviation is coming in where? Coming in right around 4,700-ish region, around our last prior kind of like closing lows, right? And what's big about that is obviously our next couple breakdown points are well within the bounds of that. So it's within the realm of possibility that we do see not just a break of our more preliminary range to the downside right here at about 5150-ish region, but that's going to have a cascade of effects. Remember, it's going to initiate that next measure move down to this blue box right around 4850-ish region to 4800. So that's another $300 play. There probably is going to be a bounce there, to be fair. But at that point, it's going to start to really look like this is just rolling over. I mean, it's failed to get anything resembling a higher high in this, in this region right here. And while there likely would be a bounce here, I think that bounce would very likely be sold into. And realistically, your next major target's going to be down around here, low 4,000s. 4450, probably another bounce area as well for the very, 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 very low time frames. But you can see here that where do we start to line up with that region? Well, we got the second deviation smack dab fucking where? 4250-ish region. So, if we did break to the downside, I would look at this as trending. And usually when you do start trending from the expected moves, from an expected move standpoint with regards to historical volatility percentile, it usually is going to reach either towards the second or third standard deviation in those ways. And of course, we are trending to the downside right now, and these are once again squeezing to the downside. So I do think that actually does make quite a bit of sense here. Anyways, for end of day, just kind of wrap it up. Remember, above 5550, that or not even 5550, it's just 5500. Sorry, too many fives there. Above, anywhere above 5500, that will reclaim the 200 simple, or kind of, not really. It doesn't reclaim it. It just doesn't break it for now. But it would incite that we probably do play a little bit of a bounce into this next week. By the same token below, and while I do think we could very easily pop back up and test around 5500, maybe 5600, maybe even the 200 exponential average, but it would probably be a sell for myself. And of course, it's not financial advice, not financial advisor. Okay, I also want to talk about something that's I also would like to talk about something fuck off, Krown, go fuck yourself. Okay, so let's see. Is there anything else that I'm missing here? We haven't really gotten too deep into any of this just yet. I do want to talk about something before I get too deep right now, and then we'll get into some more long-term analysis. That was all short-term right there. We'll get into some longer-term analysis after this, but I do want to take a little bit of a break to go over here and point this out. Low Strife is a guy on Twitter, on crypto Twitter, who I have serious amounts of respect for. He has been consistently one of the most informationally accurate and best posters on crypto Twitter for a very long time. He's very non-partial, and I've always found his insights into what's going on as extremely extremely thought-provoking. So he actually came up with a very similar theory as Sam from FTX, SBF. Sam, I don't know his full name, but Sam is also a really, really bright person as well. I did a crypto duel with him a few months ago. It never got posted, but he's incredibly intelligent and a very clear thinker. And both these guys on their own came up with about the same sort of theory of what happened with BitMEX on March the 13th. I don't want to do it any disservice by trying to put my own words on it, but I can very clearly just point you towards it if you're interested in it. There are a few stretches here, here and there, but overall, I think it's worth considering, especially if you trade on an exchange like BitMEX or Deribit or any one of these exchanges. I don't, while I use these exchanges, I do not endorse any exchange. I do not think that any exchange is actually good in this space as it is right now. I've looked at just about every one of them. I've been hit up by just about every one of them. There's a reason why you don't see my name associated with an exchange, because I just don't endorse them. I don't really support them, and I use them, but they're all bad. Every single one of them has a major glaring obvious issue when you break it down. Okay, so cool. We got around that now. Now let's talk about some high time frame analysis. So, okay. let's do something fun here. Let me put on my fucking hopium goggles, and we'll and I'll try to make my best case for Bitcoin putting in a low as it is right now. And there is a damn good case to be made, actually, especially if Bitcoin could reclaim the 200 exponential moving average. That would actually start to really make me consider that. But I want to first at the outset say that even if Bitcoin did put in a low here, which I'm not saying that it did, but even if it did, it would very likely take a long amount of time before it actually, reverses back up and does anything resembling a long-term uptrend anytime soon. I want to get that out of the way clearly, right at the beginning. I know a lot of the time I'm just absolutely terrible with time analysis and a lot better with level analysis, but I feel extremely strongly about that. It would take a very long time, even if the low is in. So to put any fears to rest, there's absolutely no rush, at least in my opinion. Of course, this is not financial advice, and I'm a financial advisor, and I'm wrong all the fucking time, and you've seen me be phenomenally wrong all the fucking time. But I do feel quite strongly about that. Anyways, okay, so let's put on the fucking hopium goggles and see what can I come up with for looking at this as the potential low. Okay, so first and foremost, massive volume. We do have a volume climax right here. Now, the problem is this is on Bitstamp, which does their Bitcoin measures their volume in Bitcoin. So your volume measured in Bitcoin at a price level of 10,000 is going to be completely different than what you have at 5,000, for example. It's going to be half, right? In order to buy one Bitcoin at 10,000, it's going to cost you 10,000 bucks. In order to buy one Bitcoin at $5,000, it's going to cost you, 5,000 bucks. So if we do have as much volume over here when Bitcoin price action is about 5,000 bucks as we did over here when Bitcoin was around 8,000 bucks on a closing basis, and really more around 10,000, this is significantly more, obviously. So do we have a volume? Do we have volume climax right here? We have an outlier, but it's not climactic, unfortunately. Looking at GDAX, it's a little bit more, Okay, so we have 340. Let's compare that with 2017 high, 336. But again, this was literally when Bitcoin was worth about 4x as much as it is right here. So this is really about 4x, divisible by 4. I'm getting my words all mixed up right now. You know what I'm trying to say. It's 4x less than what we did over here. So it looks like it's climactic, but I'm not necessarily sure that's consistent. But we can actually look at an exchange, the exchange aforementioned that was pointed to in that Twitter thread, and they actually do measure their volume in dollars. And what do you know? Look at the volume that we did over here. Now, a significant amount of volume was done, about 31, almost 32 billion on the week to be accurate. But is that an outlier? No, it's not. It's not. We did significantly more on the $14,000 high right here, 55 billion, to put in perspective. But this was just for 1 week of action. What if we go down to a daily and do we see anything of note here as well? And on a daily, it does look more comparable, to be fair, but still not quite there. Not quite there, but it's comparable. So it's at least enough to make me consider. And when we go down to the daily and all these ones, it should look significantly more impressive, right? I mean, still, this is Bitstamp. We see comparable here to what we did on our last major high right here and our last major low right here. So, could it be? I mean, actually, it's not really comparable to these last ones right here. And that was only February wait, no, sorry. This would actually be a lot more interesting. Okay, you know what? Maybe we're onto some now. But again, this one over here significantly more. So it could be made. The argument could be made that it is a volume climax when you do look at it on a daily. But that would also likely incite that we probably will come back down below 5,000 and test below there. And I'd want to see a lot more volume being done on the next drive. a lot more volume being done on that next drive, but not more than what we've done right now, because I don't want to see the RSI make daily bullish divergence, which brings me to my next point. Bitcoin has never put in a macro high or macro low, for that matter, or I guess it's vice versa, because I'm talking about lows right now, without putting in bullish divergence on at the very least a daily total time frame. Do we have bullish divergence here? Absolutely not. Nowhere. Well, it's not that it's nowhere near. It's just it got so fucking beat up here that it will make divergence if it does come anywhere, anywhere near lower. Just by the fact that it's very difficult to get the RSI that low to begin with. So if it does come back down and make a low somewhere around like 4,400 or 4,200, we will very likely get that divergence play, and that's where it starts to get a lot more interesting. So even if Bitcoin does put in a low here, we're very likely to come back below 5,000 again and test below there. And let's just go through the examples here. Did we have bullish divergence on this low right here? Yes, indeed we did. We had 1, 2, 3 drives. So now we can even say something a little bit more. Making a differential between 2 drives of bullish divergence and 3. This one has 3. This is your actual low right here. And there you go. In fact, we even got, oh my God, we even got a single digit daily RSI right there. That's pretty fucking insane. What else do we want to look at? Do we have other major lows in this market? Or sorry, what are our other major lows in this market that show bullish divergence? And you're probably going to point this out. I know that someone's probably going to point this out. But Krown, in 2015 to 2020 or 2018, we had plenty of non-bullish divergence RSI drives right here, and there were lows. Well, this isn't an uptrend. This is not a market bottom. This is not a market cycle bottom. So it's just completely not comparable. This is a market cycle bottom right here. And do we have bullish divergence? Yes, we do. Yes, we fucking do. Between this point and this point, a little bit further away, but it does count. This one was this one also was a cycle low right here, and yes, we did have major bullish divergence. Whoops, sorry, it's kind of like escaping me. Let me zero in on this one so that we can make sure that we get this right. But it had this like first 70% drop down right here, and then makes a slightly lower low right here, and that's where you get your divergence play. Anyways, what's our next cycle low right on over here? We do have a little bit. It's slightly present, but it is present, and this one over here, this one was a little bit hard to read, but yes, you could say that 1, 2, maybe even 3 drives. So at the very least 2 drives and usually 3 drives is when you get a strong low. What other things can we look at for making a low? Does the jewel have any history with making lows? Actually, in fact, it does. The Bitcoin has never bottomed out on a macro scale, I don't believe at least, unless if it gets a perfect buy signal on the jewel. Now, just because you get a perfect buy signal on the jewel does not mean it's going to be a market cycle low. But if you do not have a perfect buy signal on the jewel, then I don't believe that we've had an example of a perfect market cycle low before. Anyways, last one coming in of 2018, December 2018, was right here on the lows. Perfect signal right there. Gets that initial major move up, and then takes about 3 months to consolidate, but the low was in. Time before that was right over here on this $6,000 low right here. And do we have a perfect buy signal on the jewel? It's actually not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good coming into this region right here. So that one actually could be a good counterpoint to what I'm saying. Let's see. And to be fair, that ended up not actually being the low, but we did actually see a little bit of capitulation there from 20,000 to 6,000. That's such a fucking intense move. Right here on the 2015 low, do we have a perfect buy signal on the daily jewel? Yes, we do. All coming into the same area right here. Beautiful, fucking beautiful. What about a little bit before that right here? Do we have another one? Again, not necessarily a cycle low, but was a pretty intense low. And we are kind of coming into the same region, although not super. It's not a perfect signal by any stretch of the imagination. It's a decent signal, however. Same thing with this one right here. And then, before that doesn't really, we actually do get a buy signal right here, to be fair, if you really zero in on it, but, that one, I don't think that one would have been too actionable. It would have been very difficult to hodl, I'd imagine too. Anyways, do we have anything resembling a perfect buy signal on the jewel right now? No. And it's not gonna be switching around to it anytime soon. We need to really level out here for a little bit. And this is like some massive crystal ball right now. Hey, I'm making assumptions. This is not real technical analysis, but if this were to like, morph into a buy signal, it'd probably happen like somewhere over here. So that'd still be like 2 weeks away, and you're probably gonna see it bounce initially, come back down. These two are gonna level out and act as support, and then you'll see the blue pulled into it, and then you'll get a buy signal, and that would maybe happen around here, like the beginning of April, like first week or two of April. So that would again, likely imply that we are gonna make close on a couple more lower lows overall than this 4,800 low that we have right now on a closing basis. Anyways, what else do we want to talk about? Actually, the 3-day jewel is another very interesting thing as well that I do want to get into. 3-day jewel, anytime that we flashed green on this, and this is just like complete silliness, but it does seem to work. Anytime that we flashed green on this, it actually does indicate typically a low. Last time was coming in when? December 2018. Time before that was back on over here on this major low in January 2015. Time before that was never. Or do we have any times before that? Let's go to BLX index. No, it doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like it. I'd like to see one right here, though, if this was going to have a little bit more efficacy with it, and we unfortunately do not see it. And it's not even on BLX index anyways. It's only present on Bitstamp here. But to put in perspective, are we anywhere near getting something like that coming from this posture on a 3-day jewel? No. In fact, no, because all these oscillators have to be down around this region at the very least, like around the critical area to the downside. Same thing back on over here in 2015. So, are we coming into a major market cycle low here? It would be a little bit unlikely. Although, just because we don't have a market cycle low here does not mean that we can't bounce up and play out a nice bounce up, into the mid to low 6,000s. Very easily could. But that's what I'm waiting for the weekly to kind of tell me. Looking at historical volatility percentile, we are starting to get red once again. Actually, this is pretty much the highest that you can really even get, because it only goes to 100. It's only looking back 100 100 look back periods anyways. But we are starting to really get into interesting regions. Of course, anytime that we do flash red on the 3-day historical volatility percentile, we are coming into a pivot point on the market, but it's not a market cycle like a long-term macro pivot. It's just it's more so like the next trending pivot essentially, which does actually work really well. Anyway, same thing here as well. We do not have anything resembling bullish divergence, unfortunately, coming off the coming off this current low. I mean, it will be creating some bullish divergence at some point, but that again will imply that we will close on lower lows along the way. And then same thing going back on over here. All the major market cycle lows have had bullish divergence in the past. This one right here, even this one right here a little bit as well. And this guy, well, it doesn't really count. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's like so early in the day. Anyways, go to a weekly now. All right, weekly. Weekly is where things start to get a little more nasty. So turn your heads away, Moon Boys. We do have weekly Stokes having a fresh cross down from this region. Usually not been good for Bitcoin. Weekly RSI, nosediving, absolutely fucking nosediving here. And I don't really see any reason why it's going to stop. I do think that we're probably going to reach down to the 30 marker overall. What I really would have liked to have seen last week is Bitcoin create a support in the upper echelon of the bearish control zone, but didn't do that, sliced right through. So that tells us that we have something new, very, very likely going on. And while historical volatility percentile is starting to really flash red here on the weekly, it can stay red for a couple months at a time before that next major pivot point is put in. And that's kind of what I'd expect here. So I don't think that we're going to be out of the woods anytime soon. I think that Bitcoin is at the very best going to be ranging around the lows, and probably even does on a daily basis close on a lower low, maybe like 44, maybe 42, something like that. That would be like best case scenario, I think. And range between there and like 60, 100-ish region. And if it could do that for another couple months, then yes, maybe we might have a low. By that time, it should be a little bit more clear. But for right now, it would be very difficult to say that just at the outset. But there are a couple more things that I think are worth considering. So again, on the topic of do we have a low in, from an oscillator perspective, very unlikely. From a moving average perspective, very unlikely as well. From a volume and volatility perspective, possible, actually possible. Now let's look at it from a percentage basis and see if we can come up with anything that's been similar over the time of Bitcoin. And here is what's interesting. So Bitcoin last week basically shaved off like 50% of its price, right? Going all the way from about a little bit above 8,000 down to like a little bit below 4,000 essentially. Now hovering around 5,000. So just like when you see a major move to the upside that gets sold into immediately, that's bearish. Well, same thing for when you have a dump like that as well. If you get an immediate buyback that is significant, that is indicative that there is some buy pressure there. And we're probably going to play out a little bit of a bouncy bounce regardless of the bearishness or bullishness of that asset. It's just, there's two, it was a little bit of an emotional week last week. And to put this in perspective, sorry, let me do this the right way. So since we lost 50% last week, and right now as it is, and this can obviously change before end of day. So this is why the weekly close is so fucking important. But let's say, let's just do the crystal ball type shit once again. Let's just say that Bitcoin closes on the 200 simple or 200 exponential moving average. Where that put it at? That actually, if we close above the 200 exponential moving average, that would actually say, that would actually salvage about 25% of that 50% dump. That would make me actually think that Bitcoin is going to test back down below 5,000, but that's going to be a major buy, at least for myself. And even on the 200 simple, that's about 30% down. So 20% less than the full extent of the move. That's interesting. Let's see how this is lined up with moves of the past. And again, we should actually do it from this perspective. So from low to where we are right now, 38.5% rally, and again, if we rally up to like the 200 exponential moving average, that should be about 50%. Yeah, it is about 50%. Let's go see what are the other lows in Bitcoin history. What have they looked like when we've gotten a wick of that stature? And we have a good example right here. This is a wick that closes 34.25% up. And that's actually, it's obviously not the ultimate low. Bitcoin does range for the next year, but you do get a 2x to the upside after that. We're talking about extremes here, so of course, it's possible. We have another major low right here. This one trades up about 24% off. Sorry, 23.5% off the lows, and that continues the trend of the upside. So I do like that one as well. What I'm really looking for though is I'm looking for a wick that closes on that level and then gets continuation on that same side. Do we have an example of that? And so far, not so good. Or maybe one right here, actually. Maybe this one right here. This one's about 20%, but again, that was mostly selling to begin with. It's not like it's not like we fucking open there. Or this one right here, again, another 25%. That one actually does operate as a nice low. This one over here, actually pretty reminiscent, right? It does look familiar. Bitcoin dumps in that week about 41.5% and salvages before the end of the week 38.25%. That's actually very comparable to what we're doing right now. This one over here dumps 31%, but by the end of the week recovers 40. Recovers pretty much all of it. This one over here is pretty fucking nasty though. This one would be a good example of, this one's a good example of the fact that just because we do close on a higher low doesn't mean that we can't come back down and retest it, but it would still say that this one does hold up. We actually did trade about 100% off the lows in that weekly closing basis. This one over here did get no continuation to the downside, but again, it's so early in Bitcoin's history. It's like, how much do you trust that? Not all that much. Anyways, I just want to show that, if we were to close, especially above the 200 exponential moving average, I actually do think that we perhaps could have a low end, and you'll see like a range created between mid to low 4,000s and $6,000 over the next few months, and then Bitcoin will just pull its way through like in a year or two or some shit like that, or maybe like 10 years. But for right now, we're making a lot of assumptions here. Let's go to a monthly. How does a monthly look like? Absolute shit. Absolute fucking dog shit. Nothing good about this. Nothing good about this. Let's go to BLX index. So we did officially test the 89 exponential moving average, basically the yearly low as well. Oh, wait, what's that? I thought that Bitcoin can't go below the higher the low of January of that year because that's not supposed to happen. What about that fucking log curve? I love it when they say graph too. It's like, I can't even get it right. It's a fucking chart, for fuck's sake. These things, if you've been around long enough, and I'm sure people who have been around here much longer than me, you've seen people try to put log support charts on Bitcoin since the fucking genesis of this piece of shit. Sorry, this lovely life-changing asset. Actually, I'm a big fan of Bitcoin, but it's very easy to hate when you see kind of like the delusions around it. It makes you kind of like want to. But here's the thing. That log chart is really actually like this. This is what it actually looks like. And when you see these last few moves from a linear perspective, it doesn't look all that crazy, does it? I mean, they are crazy moves, don't get me wrong, but this is certainly within the realm of possibilities. I mean, we're just seeing like the echoes of that last parabolic market cycle still play out. I mean, it's like an earthquake, and you're getting the fucking second wave of it. And at some point in time, and as time goes further and further on, the linear chart will be the one to use for Bitcoin. And I would even say that perhaps that time is now. Perhaps that time is now, because looking at it right here, was that, you know, if you just look at this without the numbers on the left hand side, because you know, we're just dealing with big numbers here, so it looks scary, but if you didn't have any of the numbers on your left hand side, would you say that this chart looks, you know, that crazy? Well, it does look crazy, but these moves wouldn't be like, you know, really what's the word that I'm looking for? They wouldn't be that shocking. It would still look like it's within the realm of possibility. Whereas when we look at it like this, it's like, holy shit, fuck, man, what the hell? But over here, it's like, okay, well, you know, is Bitcoin's really real value like somewhere in this region right here? Actually, it seems quite reasonable. It actually even seems kind of high in some places too. Anyways, going back to the monthly here. You know, looking at the monthly oscillators, this is also quite damning as well. Monthly Stokes straight to the downside. They were going to have a chance earlier this month to cross the upside, but that was obviously destroyed as long as Bitcoin's below 7,000. And look at where the yellow 21x benchmark average is coming in on the monthly, right at 7,000 right now. So as you know, what I can say from a long-term perspective, there's no talks of Bitcoin reversing back onto a macro uptrend until we get back above 7,000. Even then, it's still going to be a long trudge, long uphill trudge, but still gonna, you know, it's just well and far away is what I want to show right now. $2,000 to be exact. More importantly, monthly RSI is extremely problematic here. Yes, it is testing the edge of the bearish control zone. Yes, it probably does bounce here on, you know, on this pass, but we've already tested it once, twice, 3 times. Usually around your 3rd, 4th, 5th time, the probabilities of you bouncing on it again are massively diminished, and we are on 3 or 4 right now. So, if it was going to break, this would be one of the times to do it. So where would I be looking for if this actually does break down? And I don't think that this, I was going to say, I don't think that this happens anytime soon. I can't say that for the downside. If the downside does happen, it will happen fucking fast. But the levels to the downside, as far as I see them, is going to be the 4,200-ish level right here. I think that's a nice little area. If 4,200 does fail, I do think that Bitcoin will very likely see, down to like 3,500 right around here, right around our last kind of like weekly closing basis. Let's get a fresh chart. Yeah, right down around here. I'd be looking at this area right here if Bitcoin does, and now we're specifically talking about the macro now. So if we were to close a weekly below, let's call it 4250 to be exact, and it's right at the lower end of that blue box, by the way, that we plotted in earlier, then yes, I would look for a major move all the way down here. If this area breaks, then I would look for extension likely towards 20, I think it's like 2,500 is where I was looking towards, to 2,200. And I want to plot these out before we get a little bit more deep and dirty with this for now. I want to put that in there. And then my next area would be like 1,500 to 1,800, I think it is, wherever this is coming in right here. Yeah, it's about, actually it's a little bit shallower than that. It's more like 1,750 to 1,900-ish region. Somewhere down around there. Below there, it's too wretched to care. I don't give a fuck about it. That's where I close my computer down and say, all right, Bitcoin, go fuck yourself. No, just kidding. I would still do analysis, but not on Bitcoin. It would just take too long to get any more interest. It'd only be like the true fucking, you'd have to really believe in this shit at that point. If it gets down around there, I'd turn this into the Forex fortress rather than the crypto cave. Anyways, okay, cool. So now let's start to line this up with a few of the fundamental indicators. So let's go over here and check out the Bitcoin VWAP ratio. I realize this video is already like an hour long. I'm going to go through the full explanation right here. The Bitcoin VWAP ratio, anytime that we've seen, first let me explain it. The Bitcoin VWAP ratio is essentially doing 3 different moving averages on the volume weighted average price, shown by the blue. Oh man, it's like hard to zero in on them. Oh man. All right, let's just zoom it out. Fuck it. Shown by the blue, which is the most reactive of these moving averages, then the purple, which is the middle reactive, and then followed by the pink, which is the least reactive. And when they all, oh, sorry, we can actually just zoom in on the pane right here. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, yeah, this is what we want to focus on right here. Anyway, and this is just showing the interaction between these moving averages, by the way. Anyways, I want you to think of where my cursor currently is right now as like a regression. Just run it right through right there on a horizontal plane. Whenever all three of those are above, generally bullish. Bias is macro bullish. Whenever they're below, generally bearish. Macro bias is bearish. As you can see right now, as of fresh as of last week, they're all below. More importantly, anytime that we've seen just the purple get below the pink, like you see right here, like you see right here, and we're going to go through the charts and look at these examples, and right here, we actually do see at the very least 50% moves to the downside and all the way up to like 75% moves to the downside. And then when the blue gets below all those guys or gals, I don't know what gender they prefer, that speaks to like the length of that playing out. So let's actually just line these up because I do want to get through this a little bit faster. But we can point out a few examples more recently right here, of course, than in 2018 right here. Again, in 2018 right here, 2014 right here, 2014 right here, 2013 right here, and 2012 right here. So let's actually go measure all those out and see what that has done in the past, because we are actually getting the same sort of signal that we're getting right now. And then we'll talk about the matrix chart. Okay, so we got one right here from top to bottom. That was a 62.5% move. Then we got one right here in 2018, and from top to bottom, that was about 70% move. Then we got one right here on the bull trap of 2014. From top to bottom, that is a 75.25% move. Then we got this guy right here, also in 2014, 71% move top to bottom. We got this guy right here, 76.5% top to bottom. And then we did have one back on over here, but it's kind of an outlier, and I don't really think it's that fair to talk about, but 93% down just for thoroughness' sake. And then of course we have it again right here. If we really zoom in and pan this one out, you can, I mean, the blue is like so aggressively on top of all of them, but you can see that they are all kind of with each other. And that's coming in from this high right here. So if we were to shave off, on average, like, what do we see? Like 60 to 75% down. Well, right now we've already gone about 63.5% down. That is comparable. That is comparable. So again, making the case for an actual bottom, could it be in? Yeah, it could be. However, that's 75% down, and that's right around fucking 2,500. Oh, does that line up exactly with what we're looking at right over here in this blue box territory? Oh, no. Oh, does that line up with our 886 Fibonacci retracement from the ultimate high to the ultimate low of the last market cycle? Oh, yes, it does. Is that exactly where Bitcoin did bottom out in the prior market cycle before that in 2014, 2015, right over here? Oh, yes, it was. Oh, was that exactly where Bitcoin bottomed out in the prior cycle before that in 2011, 2012? I think it was. I think it fucking was, baby. Anyways, sorry. Can't help myself right now. I do apologize if this is like painful for anyone to look at. It hurts me more than it hurts you. Strong support on the 1,000 week moving average. Wait. Let's destroy a few more moon boys before that. Hey, what's that volume profile thing about? Hey guys, could you tell me what that volume profile thing is about? Do we have the point of control all the way down here? No, hold on. Let's actually make it look a little bit nicer. All right, we don't want to destroy them that much. It's too mean. It's too mean. All right, never mind. Okay, we'll go back right on over here. So now let's talk about long-term, the good old matrix, right? Anyways, I explained this yesterday. I'll explain it again today because I want to have this video that I can just direct people towards for like my long-term analysis right now. And hopefully this one holds up over time. So it looks good. Or maybe it makes me look like a complete fucking moron. Anyways. Anyways, let me just make sure that I'm recording. Okay, I'm recording. Oh, 1 hour in. Nice. All these dotted trend lines represent a support trend line for each and every one in Bitcoin's history, starting off with this guy anchored in 2010 and 2011, gets broken in 2012. That becomes your parabolic highs in 2013 and 2014 right in over here. Then we create another support trend line for the next parabolic market cycle anchored in 2011 and 2013 right here. This one gets broken in 2014, 2015. This dump right here. It actually gets retested almost immediately a few months after that in March, rejection, and then becomes your parabolic highs of your next market cycle in 2017 and 2018 right in over here. Then we create another support trend line for the next parabolic market cycle anchored in 2015 and 2016 anchored in 2015. And what's recently been revealed, I do believe, and I strongly believe this now, I really do, anchored in 2015 and 2019. Before, I was looking at this as anchored in 2015 and 2016, which actually did give us our high for this guy right here. In fact, we can make it right now. I do want to just show this really quick. So it actually did hold through. It actually did hold through. Something like that, which did give us our $14,000 high. But I don't believe that was like the true one to be watching. This market cycle low to market cycle low is the right one to be watching. Does this become our parabolic highs of our next market cycle? I think so, probably yes. I think that we will be governed by this on the next market cycle. So if we were to go at the end of this year, where would this suggest that our potential high could be? It's not saying that we're going to be there. It's just saying that a potential high would be put in at this region. And by the way, my options are about to expire. So these should be getting crushed right now. They are. Nice. Good one. It would say that at the end of the year of 2020, so going into 2021, be a potential high of about 13,000. So basically the highs of this year. So I'd say that that's pretty fucking unlikely. Probably not going to happen. Just kidding. No, it's definitely going to happen, Moon Boys. 2022. 2022, it'd be as high as about 36,000. 2023, it would be as high as about 70,000. You can see that it still gets rapidly up there, but I would be looking at those as like, the same reaction that we saw right here, same reaction that we saw right here, same reaction that we saw right here. We could even do one prior to that for this guy right here. In fact, we do have this one and this one anchored in these two regions. Fuck, I need to get it right. Something like that. Puts in the high right there and then puts in the ultimate high right there. So it actually does work out, to be fair. and these have been back tested quite a bit. But for now, Bitcoin has a nice test down to the 786 Fibonacci retracement. Well, for now, assuming that the weekly can close above the 200 simple, maybe even the 200 exponential average, we probably do come back down and test below 5,000. But could the low be in? I think it would still be a topic of conversation and could be a possibility. But especially when we start breaking this area right here, and I'd even say it's a little bit higher than this, around 4,200 to 4,250-ish region. I think that we're going to retest a low at about 33, 34, and then probably bounce pretty hard again there too. But overall, come down to the low 2,000 region, and that's where I think that Bitcoin would likely have like a long-term bottom. Anyways, I'm gonna start to wrap this bitch up because I do want to roll these positions, and we got 2 minutes until expiration. Sorry, well that's tomorrow's expiration, but we need this one right here. Actually, I'm gonna start to roll these right now. Do I want to roll these right now? Do I want to roll this right now? No, I'll wait. I'll wait for now. Maybe we get another $200 pump to that 5,400 target that we spoke about in the lower term timeframes. Anyways, to wrap this one up, lower term timeframes, I do think that Bitcoin will test this area again intraday, somewhere around 5,400 to 5,500-ish region. Remember, we do kind of have a little bit of a symmetrical triangle going on right now, so that does offer up a nice little, nice little play, something like this right there, and then right there. And we're probably going to get resolution on this a little bit later today, early tomorrow, something like that. Probably around the time that CME is open is where I'd be looking for a break of this. If we do break to the upside with an hourly to close at the very least above 5,500, 5,550-ish region, then perhaps, at the very least, I would target a move towards 5,800 right here. I think that looking for the full measured move of this to hit 6,100 or 6,000 would be asking a little bit too much. I think that this should be a little bit difficult to kind of chew its way through at 5,800-ish region. And then to the downside, if we even just trade below our current wick low right here for at 50.50, or close below this low right here at about 51.25, I do believe that at the very least we will see down to 48.50 right here. But the measure move, I do believe, points us a little bit lower towards 4,500-ish region. Let me just confirm this again. Yeah, it does. And remember, that is where the 30-minute showing some interesting support in this region, right? Somewhere down around here. So I would probably be looking for that at the very least 4,800 to 4,850-ish region is where I'd be looking towards. But realistically, all of the intraday action right now is not that interesting to me. It's the weekly close that's really going to dictate the pace for this one. So what I can wrap up this as is that if Bitcoin closes below the 200 simple at 5,500 later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, I believe it is, because the time has changed now. I do believe that Bitcoin might pop back up and test around 6,000, but very, 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 very likely that will be a rejection, and we will head back down to test into the low 4,000s. 4,200, I think, very likely to be tested. By the same token, if Bitcoin closes above the 200 simple but below the 200 exponential moving average, I would say that we probably a week of sideways, and there's going to be a test below 5,000 and also a test probably to 6,000, but a range will be created, and then if we close above the 200 exponential moving average by some grace of God back above about 5,900 essentially, I do think that Bitcoin would probably pop back down and test the low 5,000s or upper 4,000s, but that's going to be likely a buy for myself and set us up for a test and a range to be created between like 5,000 and like 6,500, $7,000. And the best case for Bitcoin in that scenario, in my opinion, would be like sideways for a few weeks, a couple months, something like that, and then maybe it pulls through. But there'll be plenty of time to analyze that in the future to come. For right now, I'm hungry as fuck, so I'm gonna be signing off. I want to wish you well once again. I may be on Twitch later today, depending upon how fast I can be, but I can't fully commit to that right now. I can say though, this coming week I will be having surgery, so I will have nothing but Twitch to do. So I'm hanging out there quite a bit more, and that's really what I'm holding out for. So for right now, I want to wish you well once again. Take care, and until next time.